Marketing Your Private Practice is a podcast where you'll learn easy to implement tips and strategies to grow your business without spending all day online. I'm your host, Kathy Colaiacovo, and I teach practitioners the Thrive marketing method to create simple and streamlined plans by focusing on long-term strategies, not just social media. Discover ways to spend less time on your marketing, attract more clients, and build the financial freedom that comes with a thriving practice. One where you have time left in your day for the people and things that matter to you. Practitioners like you deserve a thriving practice helping your clients live long, healthy lives. But this won't happen if you're spending more time on marketing than you do working with clients. I'm Kathy Colaiacovo, marketing strategist for practitioners and dietitians, and I can tell you that marketing your private practice shouldn't be complicated or take hours a day. This podcast helps you build your confidence and skills with actionable and easy to understand marketing strategies, along with time-saving tips. You'll learn to spend less time on your marketing, how to attract more clients, and build the financial freedom that comes with a thriving practice. One where you have time left in your day for the people and things that matter to you. Hey, private practice heroes. It's Kathy Colaiacovo, and I'm going to say something right now that a lot of people may disagree with, but here goes. Group programs and online courses are not the magic solution to building a thriving practice. Most folks see the lure of group programs as the solution to their time and money problems, but it's often not the case. Today on the Marketing and Private Practice podcast, we're going to dive into why running a group program often creates more problems than solutions, and how you can approach offering this type of service in a way that will make sense and make you a profit too. Let's get to it. Too often in this online world we live in, practice and business owners look to group programs and courses as the solution to their problem of burnout, to help them make more money in less time. Many practitioners think these programs are an easy way to build another stream of income outside their one-on-one services. People tell you to pick a niche, make a group program, and go on Instagram and sell it. They hear others talking and teaching about this, and they want the same thing. Who wouldn't? But what people forget about is that many of these folks have spent years building up their businesses from the ground up, not skipping steps. And when they talk about their success, sometimes the little details, those important details, get left out. And this is often why we see these programs and courses as that instant and magical solution we're looking for. From the outside perspective, it does look easy. But here's an inside scoop from someone who's helped hundreds of practice and business owners build, grow, and scale their businesses. Filling group programs can be really hard work, especially when you haven't planned them out thoroughly and priced them so that they actually help you earn more income. And trust me, if you haven't built a base revenue in your practice before branching out into programs and groups, it's even harder to do. Your skill and experience working with clients one-to-one is what ends up being translated into the expertise you offer running a group program. So if you haven't gotten to this stage yet where you have that base income coming from your one-to-one services, you may want to rethink your group program strategy, because at this stage, it's even harder work if you're starting from ground zero. Now, I'm not saying group programs never work. What I am saying is, if you're looking to offer these, slow down, take your time, do your research, and make sure that running a group will help your practice. Let's talk about what rethinking your strategy looks like so you can actually start off on the right foot when it comes to creating a group program and pricing it too. When I look at developing and pricing a group program with my clients, there are 3 things that we consider before even getting the program up and running and ready to sell. Those 3 things are, first of all, you need to validate the program idea. Then you need to determine what's included in the program. And the third thing is you want to factor into your pricing everything that's going to affect running that group program. So the very first thing on this list, validating the program idea, that is the one most people skip. And if you skip getting this information, you could find yourself out thousands of dollars like one of my clients did one time. Validating your program idea means knowing the answers to 2 critical questions. And these are the 2 questions you must ask first. And I really do mean first. Before even doing one iota of work to develop your program, you've got to know, do people want a program like this? And are they willing to pay for it? Those are the two questions you really need to consider asking people in this validation phase. And this phase comes before anything else. When you don't take the time to validate your program idea, you honestly will end up wasting a lot of time, money, and resources, potentially building something that no one wants. Please do not make this mistake. I've seen too many folks put so much hard work into making a program, and this goes for online courses too, when they haven't done their homework and they haven't validated that program idea first. I had a client do this before they came to work with me one time. They paid almost $10,000 for someone to make a course from a book that they had written. The person that was creating the course for them created all the slides and all the content, taking it all from the book. And then the client recorded all the lessons and put them on her Kajabi platform that she had purchased, which she was paying at that time about $2,500 a year for, because she wanted to launch this and do really good selling this program. And it fell flat. The concepts in her book were great. The ideas and the concepts in the course were great. But people in her community were not ready for this as a self-study program, and they had no interest in buying it. No one had ever asked from her company and her business if people in the community would buy something like this, if they would be wanting to take a course like this and pay $300 for it. This client spent about 2 years trying to get this program off the ground and working, but with no luck. They had 2 people buy the program. So there was about $600 in sales for a program that, when they tallied up all of their costs, not just the cost of paying the person to create the course from the book, but everything, the time to do the videos, and then everything else they had to put into it, they really had put about $15,000 into trying to put a course out there, put it online, and make money from it. They even hired a copywriter to do a series of emails, and still nothing really ever changed. They only ever had the 2 sales because they forgot the golden rule of developing a program, which is do your research and validate your program or course idea first. Do not take the step of offering a program or course without first taking the time to make sure people are interested in the topic, they want to learn the lessons in the way that you're going to teach them, and they're willing to pay money for this program. When you don't start with the validation phase first and make sure people are interested and willing to pay for it, you could be throwing tons of time and money down the toilet in the pursuit of what I call the online program creator's dream. A dream that's often had the rug pulled out from under folks because they didn't take this time to do the research and make sure there was a market for this information and the people in that market would in fact pay for the program. Now, once you've done the validation phase and you know that people are interested in it, that they are willing to pay for it, then you're ready to move on to the next aspects of developing a program. And the next 2 aspects are pricing. They both involve pricing. And this is where you need to start thinking about all of the factors that will help you determine the pricing for your group program. And you have to remember this too. The price you set today and when you first start out with your program doesn't have to be the final and it's never going to change ever again price. But you do want to think about pricing it strategically. And at this stage, most business owners just start thinking about the price they're going to sell it for. They forget about some of the elements that should be factored into the pricing in order to make the program profitable. This is where people don't ask themselves a question that helps ensure pricing is a good price. And the question you want to ask yourself here is, what price can I run this program at that will make it worthwhile for me and my business? You've got to make sure that you're making a profit from the group program. So what do you factor into your pricing strategy for a program? Well, there's a few different things that we always go over, but there are 5 main things I always review with clients and members in the Thrive Marketing Academy when we're looking at creating and pricing their programs. The first thing that you want to think about is you really should have an idea of what your hourly rate for your business is. And I don't mean what you necessarily charge people to work with you for an hour, but what you make per hour overall from your business at the end of the year, looking at how much money you earned and how much time you put into the business. Knowing your hourly rate for your business helps you gauge your profit level for the time you put into running a program. If you don't know what you make as an hourly rate with your entire revenue overall, you won't know what your program needs to earn you on a per hour basis for the time you put into running it. And that's part of figuring out the profitability. So the second thing that we look at is what fixed costs are involved in running the program. And this is something a lot of people don't think about when they're looking to create and develop the price for the program. A portion of the cost of your email marketing system and the cost of your admin or your virtual assistant if you get help in making all of this work. You need to figure out that a portion of each of these systems or the help from your admin person, part of all of that and getting the cost for that is going to run into how you tally up in total. These costs are the ones like the fees for any programs or software you need to run your program, any materials you need to buy and send out to people in the program, even things like a portion of the cost of your email marketing systems and the cost of an admin or virtual assistant if you get help making all of this work. All of these fixed costs go into the cost of running your program, and you need to factor them into how you price your program and how you look at how much profit you want to make from the program. The third thing that we look at are what time costs are involved in running the program. And next to the fixed costs, I'm telling you, this is the one people forget all about. You really often forget how much time you put into running a program when you don't think about all the different moments in time that you spend with the participants in the program. So I always like to factor in two types of time costs. One is your time cost of being with the group. So delivering the program live on a call or running a session, and then any one-to-one participant time costs. So if you offer a one-to-one session for anybody in the program, you've got to factor that into your pricing as well. You have to make sure that you factor in any time you spend with your group on live calls, as well as time spent with your community answering questions. Maybe you have a Facebook group or a private community. Your time answering those questions is part of your time to run the program. Even time you spend preparing for your lessons or delivering the classes. All of this time should be factored into how much time you put into running the program and any of that one-to-one time you spend with people too. Every element of time here will affect the bottom line of your program's overall profitability. So the fourth element that you want to think about when it comes to pricing your program is, are there going to be any items that cost you something directly to be included in the program? So I often see this with people who run book clubs or offer a workbook that people get with their programs. And I mean something that they may buy and ship to them through Amazon or ship to them through the mail. The cost of purchasing a book or a workbook or mailing something to people as part of your program is part of the cost. And you need to think about that as you price your programs as well. Then you also want to look at the fifth thing, which is, what is the minimum number of participants that you're going to need to make a profit with your program? Once you have that profit number, that's when you're going to find out if it's going to pass the "is this worth running" test. And that's something people often forget about, is looking back to that important question you need to answer. What price can I run this program at that will make it worthwhile for me and my business? That's how you know you're going to have a profitable program. But this is often where people forget or don't think about running the numbers so they can know, do I need 5 people? Do I need 10 people? What will happen if I have 2 people? Knowing and running different scenarios so that you understand where your profitability will land by factoring in all of your costs of running the program. That is the best way for you to make sure that the program is worth running, or if you need to rethink your pricing on it or how you're putting it together and what benefits you're offering people as part of the program. Now, some of this will take time to figure out. And once you have your validation done and move into the development stage, that's where you're going to want to spend this time figuring out the details on pricing. Now, for me, I have a pricing calculator I created that I use with my clients. It's so much easier to be able to use something where you can factor in all of your numbers, put in your costs, and this is what we do with the calculator. We take all the information we have, we plug in the numbers of the fixed costs, the time costs, how long the program is, and anything else that's going to be involved in running the program. The one-to-one time, the group time, any time spent pre-prepping for the class or running the sessions or afterwards as well. We put them all into this pricing calculator that I created, and it just automatically, from the formulas I put into it, of course, it just gives us the numbers where we learn what kind of profit will this program make. And that's where we do the is it worth it check before diving in and going into full development of the program. We also look at the totals in the calculator for the net projected revenue overall and the net projected profit per hour of my client's time spent delivering the program. Now, I will tell you, this is often where my clients' eyes pop out a little at the reality of factoring all of these elements into their pricing. Most clients, before we use the calculator, will simply say, well, if I want 8 people in the group and I charge them each $75 per group session, I can run a 2-month program, charge them $600, and I'll make $4,800. You can test my math on that if you want, but I'm pretty sure it's right. But when we use the calculator and I prompt them to think about these other items that they've often forgotten, the fixed costs, the admin costs, the time costs, that's when you can often see that you might actually have to need to raise your fees if you want to make a profit and have the program worth your time to run it. Or you also reduce your profit expectations. But it really is eye-opening whenever we use this tool. And yes, if you're wondering, you can get your hands on this interactive pricing calculator. It is a product I sell on my Pepper Marketing website. You get the calculator, which is an interactive tool. It has 4 different ways and choices of creating different pricing predictions for you, as well as having a video lesson on how to use it. And I'll put a link to it in the show notes for you as well. Then the calculator has sections that walk you through determining your hourly rate of revenue, and then calculators for pricing a package of one-to-one services, group programs, and also a live workshop or an event too. In the example I mentioned earlier, that $600 program, well, that was a real example I used with someone a few years ago. She thought she was going to be able to make $6,000 from her program. But the reality of pricing was that when we used the calculator and included all the costs in running the program that she hadn't really thought about, and the time costs that were involved in how much time she was putting into it, because she was really just thinking, oh, well, it's a 2-month program, weekly sessions, and it's just going to be 8 hours of my time, and I'll be able to charge people $600 and make $4,800 for 8 hours. But the reality was, when we looked at all of this and factored in her actual hours of time, her net profit was actually under $4,500, not $6,000. Plus, she was able to see the implications of running a group with less than 8 people, because the calculator offers spots for you to put like a minimum and a maximum of people and a medium amount as well. So we punched in these numbers. I put 8 in the middle, 5 at the bottom, and 12 at the top. And she could see that when she only had 5 people sign up, the profit all of a sudden went from $4,500 to $2,700. And that's when she realized that the minimum number of people she needed before she ran the group really did have to be 8, because 5 was just not profitable enough for her, not for the amount of time she would be putting into the program. When you're pricing group programs like this, you really have to make sure that you include everything involved in running the program in order to truly understand what your profitability will look like. And it's not just what you're going to make on paper, but it's also what you're going to make for the amount of time you put into the program. These elements all help you determine your pricing and the number of people you need to run that group program at a profit. And this is really important because you're like any business. You need to generate revenue to keep the business running with a profit. And if you're not making money in your practice or your business, then frankly, you're running a hobby more than a business, or maybe you're running a charity. Of course, this doesn't really apply if part of your program is a charitable aspect. That can always be a portion of what you're doing. But unless you have an endless supply of money to support you, some aspect of your business does need to make money. And if you're looking to make money from the group program, you've got to make sure that whatever time, resources, and energy that you put into the program actually does help you make money and have a profit, which is how you're going to build that thriving practice that you're trying to build. So, what is your action step today? Well, when you're ready to create a new program or even a course, because it's very similar for online courses as well, you want to make sure that you stop before you get out there and put anything out there online and consider those 3 elements that you need to factor in before putting any time or resources into getting the program up and running and ready to sell. You need to validate the program idea. You need to determine what you're going to include in the program. And that means things like how many calls, how many extra resources, any one-on-one time with you. All of that needs to be thought about here. And then you need to factor in your other elements for pricing the actual program, the fixed costs, the admin costs, the time costs, all of those different costs. The time you put into doing this research and planning will pay off in the long run by making sure you've done your due diligence as you created this group program for your practice or your business. And for folks and clients that I've worked with that haven't taken this time, I often find when we back up and we start all over, that's when they get to a place where the program becomes something that people want, that people are willing to pay for, and they make sure that they've got it set up in a way that it also makes sense for them. It is worth running the group program because they are going to make a profit. So as you think about all of this and you're looking to price your programs and your services, if you want to get your hands on the pricing calculator that I was talking about, it'll make your process a lot easier. I will share a link to it in the show notes so you can access that as well at marketingyourprivatepractice.com/20. And as you go through this process, let me know, please, if this episode got you thinking about running group programs and knowing how to determine the pricing and profitability of them so you're actually going to earn money from running your groups, not lose money, because that's what I want to see for you. So be sure to either DM me on Instagram or you can send me a voice message on my special SpeakPipe link, and that's speakpipe.com/KathyC, and I'll link to that as well. It's an easy way just for you to leave a voice message to me online. And let me know, what are you thinking about with your group program? And when you work in these different factors, are you finding there's a change in how you're going to put it out there and run the group online? My big thing is I want you to run something that people are going to want, that's going to help your clients and also help you by helping you earn some money from running the group program. And hey, if you've been listening to the podcast for a while now, I'd love to ask you a favor. It would be awesome if you could rate and review the podcast on your favorite player. You just click the link wherever you're listening to the podcast. They often have a review or a star spot, something like that. Put it in there and let me know what you're thinking about the podcast and topics. And if you have a topic you'd like me to cover in a future episode, use that speakpipe.com/KathyC link, and I will look at investigating running a episode to help you answer that burning question that you have about running and marketing your private practice. So have a fabulous day, everyone. And remember, if you want to thrive in practice, you've got to be pricing your services, your packages, and even group programs if you're creating those so that you do make a profit. You can find all of the show notes from Marketing Your Private Practice with Kathy C. and the resources mentioned in this podcast at marketingyourprivatepractice.com. I'd love to connect with you on Instagram. You can find me there by searching for Pepper It Marketing. I'd love to hear any feedback you have on the podcast, and be sure to review us online and hit subscribe on your favorite player so you don't miss any future episodes. You can find all of our show notes and resources mentioned at marketingyourprivatepractice.com. Be sure to connect with me on Instagram at Pepper It Marketing and say hi. I'd love to hear any feedback you have, and make sure to rate and review the podcast and hit subscribe on your favorite player so you don't miss any future episodes.